This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. What's good, y'all? It's season 5 of the Past BT Pod with your host, BT. We have a new season here, and it's time to get this show going. As you all know, we talk about sports. Sports won't be as big of a carrier this year. I think we'll be carrying it more towards the stuff, and predominantly on the sports side, you'll be hearing more from the musical aspect, but we will still be talking about technical. We'll be giving you the video game content. I will still be going over the ass of the week. We'll definitely be passing the message. You'll be getting an angel number, and you'll get quite a few gems. So sit back, relax, take your time, don't waste your time. This is the Past BT with your host, Brian. What is going on? This is episode 323 of the Past BT with your host, BT, aka Brian. I have a special guest with me today. I always like to follow tradition, and we've had a fun yet unique pre-production pod conversation to give her a little more relaxation to the show. I normally, as I tell her and I tell all guests, I don't introduce guests. I let guests introduce themselves. So if you want to introduce who you are, name, breakdown, tell them what you do, and we'll get into the show.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. My name is Dr. Bernadette Spriggs. I am the CEO and owner of Destination Vacation Travel Planner, also known as DIVA with an E, Travel Planner. Mm-hmm. I've been in the business for over 20 years, where I was booking, planning travel for family and friends as a hobby. I'm very compassionate about doing this. Okay. So I've decided, once I retired from the Department of Defense, that I wanted to give everybody else the opportunity to travel the world and learn about other cultures at an affordable price. Okay.
She tried to do the brief intro. So this is where I always like to come in and give people a hard time. So she gave her introduction. Now I'm going to give the added introduction. And I always like to do this with people because it makes them feel more comfortable. My podcast is about being at home. Your mother. Yes. Your daughter is probably like the family I ain't never had because she comes to me like we've had a lot of good planning sessions, but she's a creative. You know, she's been helping you in creating because we've talked about that offline as far as with social marketing, yes, social media. You're also, like you mentioned earlier, you said off mic if I'm okay with talking about it, teaching. You were a teacher before, and yes, you just mentioned about Department of Defense. And overall, you're all around. You're a good person. Like from what just in a couple of minutes of us talking, like you just seem like you enjoy what you do, and having the passion helps.
Well, I basically enjoy people. Yeah. I love meeting people. It doesn't matter what their nationality is. If I can speak your language, fine. If not, we found a way to communicate. Yep. And it's just a way of just loving people, period. Right. You know, because we are all God's children and everybody should love each other. Absolutely. And yes, I am a proud mother of 3, a proud grandmother of 3, nice, a proud great-grandmother of 1. Okay. So I love my family. Okay, and friends. Family oriented. I like that. Okay. Yes.
It was something you just said that hit, and it's I'm sitting on it because it's very solid. It's just being about being passionate about what you do helps, and it's very key. Yes, so that helps with promoting and like really talking about the business. And it kind of like you mentioned the name of the business, Diva Travel Planner. Like we talked about this off mic because I did give her I gave her a gift that I was supposed to give her daughter that she's gonna get, and I told my friend I would promote. So blessing sent, check it out. blah, blah, all that stuff. Link will be in the show notes. I'll also be putting your link in the show notes, and we'll get to those in a moment. And I'll explain show notes off mic. It's real. It's podcast lingo, but it's simple once you understand it when you see it produced.
Okay.
So you brought up the name Diva, DEVA. So, yes. And I'm using my rapper hands for y'all those of you who aren't physically here to see this. Explain the name Diva Travel Planner and how that came about.
Well, everyone is familiar with the term diva, but it's normally spelled DIVA.
Right.
So when it came time for me to come up with a name for my travel company, I said, well, I want to be Diva because I feel myself, is a diva type person. You know, I care about people and I'm very conscious about what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
But my Diva stands for D for dedication. Mm-hmm. E, I'm very energized.
Okay.
V, I'm vigilant about my clients, what it is, their needs and wants, and how I can help them get to where they want to go.
Right.
And A, I am an adventurous person.
Okay.
So that's how the Diva came in. And then it's a travel planner. You know, I plan your travel from beginning to end. It's like a life cycle. I don't stop at just planning the trip. I walk you through every step of the way, providing any information you may need to wherever destination you're going to. And I don't stop there. If you need help while you're on your travel, I'm just a phone call away.
Yeah.
And I also follow up with you when you get home.
Okay.
So I'm with you from the beginning to the end. I don't just plan a trip and just end it there. I'm with you till the moment you step on that plane to leave until the moment you're back home safe.
Okay. I like that. So that we gotta talk because I ain't did it. No, cause I don't know if anybody on the show knows this about me. So I went on. So my last trip that I really went on was to Italy, and I was a kid.
Italy. Mm-hmm.
I was like 14, 15 years old. I didn't know much. I knew. I think I might have been I was in the middle of my second year of learning Italian. So while I was there, I understood simple things. The one thing I love the most personally is the town shut down. Mm-hmm. So they shut down for lunch, which I was like, oh, I'm with that. Like, bring that to America. But hey, neither here nor there. Time, everything takes time. But I bring that up because I really and truly do want to get to doing traveling again. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was mental blockage. Just not putting that effort into seeing it be a thing. But I think I don't know. Things happen for a reason because you talked to me about you talking about planning or doing traveling. Another friend of mine who I've helped with podcasting does traveling, and we talked about it off mic with a family member of mine who plans traveling as well. So might be a sign. And I did talk about Italy. So going into that, and this is a two-part question. What is the most enjoyable trip that you've taken? And what is the most enjoyable trip or planning event? Now, let me backtrack. Do you add event planning in with that as well, or just primarily just travel planning?
I add event planning in there as well.
Okay, all right. Let's see now.
Yes.
See how I ease that in.
I have a partner that does wedding events and other types of events, so we partner together. Okay. When she have events. But I've also planned events for anniversaries, honeymoons, and that kind of stuff.
Nice. Okay. 2% question. Did you plan your daughters?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
From beginning to end, she was the bride. I said, you sit there and don't worry about it. My girlfriend and we took over.
Nice.
I was in overdose.
Okay. And you got a nice rest afterwards.
Oh, I had a good time. It was fun.
I know that's right. That's good. That's good. Because I was like, I don't want to assume. Just ask. So that was it's just something that came across. Biggest, most enjoyable trip taken, most enjoyable trip booking. Just kind of the rundown of how it went.
Okay. My most enjoyable trip. I have two of them.
Okay.
The first one was when I went to Japan. So I went to Japan initially to meet with my brother. Okay. But at the last minute, he had to go to Iraq. So I still went. Right. And I went on and stayed in his house. Because I have access to the military base, it was no problem for me to be with people. Right. But my brother introduced me to a Japanese resident there. So she took me all around. She spoke little English, and of course, I just had the basic Japanese language, you know, information. But when I got there, I went into the mall, and I wanted tea. I love drinking tea, herbal tea. Okay. So I met this older Japanese woman. And I was trying to explain to her in my English the type of tea I was looking for. Okay. And she was trying to communicate back with me, but she was speaking Japanese. So at the end of the day, we both stood there and just started laughing. And we figured out what it was I wanted. Okay. You know, and I thought that was just so wonderful. And I met an older couple there, and they gave me some of their money to welcome me to their country. Nice. And also, I had the pleasure of doing a photo shoot there for free. Okay. They just wanted to do a photo shoot of me, and they dressed me up in the kimono. Yeah. And it was a wonderful experience. And then my second trip, and of course, I went back to Japan. And when I went back, I took my son, his friend, and my girlfriend and her sister. Right. Because I wanted them to experience what I experienced. So we had a good time. Okay. But my second favorite trip was going to Spain. Okay. And I think I've been to Spain maybe 5 times now. Wow. I love it. I love the water on the Mediterranean. And the first time my husband and I went, it was just us. And then the second time I told my son, I said, if you learn Spanish, you can go with me to Spain. And I did the same thing when I took him to Japan. Yeah. Young people, they can do it. Oh, yeah. He did it. He went there. He loved it. Right. So I love the food. Wherever I travel, I would eat whatever they put on my plate. Just don't tell me what it is until afterwards. Because I want to experience it. I don't want to be in fear that I don't want to try that because of whatever they say it is. Right. Let me try it. You know, you never know. Yeah. You know. Okay. So that was one of the most enjoyable trips I've had. Now, as far as the most enjoyable trip I booked, I booked a anniversary trip for a couple to Jamaica. So to surprise them, I contacted the hotel and I had them to set up dinner on the beach for them by candlelight. Okay. And to also have a musician there to serenade them. And they really enjoyed that.
Because it was unexpected.
It was unexpected. Gotcha. And I like to do things like that for my clients. You know, if it's an occasion that they're celebrating. Yeah. You know, I just like to, bam, here it is. You didn't know you was getting it.
I'm intrigued. Cause, and now that I got, like, because that made me think of fear. Because fear of the unknown is a real thing. And I know for me personally, I'm the, and this is going to be that unpacking podcast. I'm the meat and potatoes guy. Okay. So traveling to different places, and I'm not granted, let me be clear. Like if I go to certain places to eat, I'm not that person that goes to a Mexican restaurant and get chicken. No. I will eat. Exactly. Yeah, like I'll actually eat stuff that if it's certain places, it's like I went to Mekong restaurant, which is here, a Vietnamese restaurant. Pretty, you know, it has some good food. And I tried a couple things there. But a lot of times I'm usually like, give me just a general idea, something that's simple. But like you said, that's something that I'm thinking about. I need to take that plunge and just give it more things to try and not be so complacent. Because that's kind of been the uphill battle a lot of times. Is if it ain't something I know, I don't want to touch it. It ain't my thing. So
right. And you know, with you saying that, that's just like, why would I go international to visit a McDonald's? Right. I can get McDonald's here. Yeah. So I love to try different foods, you know, wherever I'm at.
True. I'm with that. I'm gonna save that one. No, because I know, because good and bad, because that's an unpack. I know, and so I'm gonna ease this in slow. I'm gonna slow walk this a little bit because I always like to tell people. I kind of like giving people the outline with podcasting, before things that you don't hear or people don't know about. Because we talked pre-show, and I was telling the doctor that I was one of those people when it comes to doing podcasts. I'm kind of just like, no, we just, I'm come up with some questions. We'll ask some stuff on the fly. And then I was like, she said, nah,
I need, give me an idea what the format is. I got to, send it over to my PR. And I was just like, okay, let me work on it. Give me some time. In the middle of all the things that I'm trying to do but not doing. And so then I sat down and I was like, okay, let me write up some good questions. So a lot of the questions, it was like, many of them were on the whim. A lot of them were based through the, I looked, because as an internet guru, I won't say addict, because I use the internet a lot. I went to, I go to the Facebook like page. IG gives stories, but it gives the minimal. I'm all about, hey, what is Facebook showing me? And then also when you go to a person's website, like how it's all broken down. So it's just general things that I thought of. Going into that, how do you personally feel you handle or manage social media?
I am active with social media. Before I initially really got into my travel, I use social media for personal.
Right.
But now that I've started my travel agency, I like to use it to promote different trips, destinations around the world. I use it to try to get clients.
Right.
I use it to share experiences that my clients have experienced on their trips, or I myself or my family members have done as well. Mm-hmm. So it can really be a good tool if you use it the right way.
Okay.
So, and like you mentioned, my daughter, she helps me a lot with it. She does all my marketing for me.
Okay.
I'll just say, hey, I got such and such. She's like, oh, okay. And we'll sit there and we'll talk about the different things. And
right.
hashtags is a very important tool to use when you're posting, because now you're reaching out to more people, and then you get people energized, and they'll come back to you. They'll send you a message,
right.
Whether it's Facebook or Instagram. And that's just the way I like to use it.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that. What does your day-to-day consist of as far as a plan? Like, matter of fact, we're going to run the question, because the question is going to tie in with what you probably have.
Okay.
I want to go on a trip.
Okay.
I want to take my trip, go back to Italy again. But I ain't been traveling in 20 plus years.
Okay.
Walk me through the traveling process.
So first of all, I'm going to ask you how many people we're speaking of.
Okay.
What dates are you looking for?
Okay.
And you can give me multiple dates because, sometimes people's schedules are flexible. Mm-hmm. How many days? Whether you want to fly, a land trip, which is flying in a hotel.
Okay.
Or if you want to go on a cruise. If it's a cruise, how many days? Do you need airline? Do you need rental car?
Right.
Are any kids traveling with you?
Okay.
And I also asked, do you have any special hobbies?
Okay.
Because I don't want to plan something for you and you're like, I don't do rock climbing. Why are you showing me that? So I just wasted my time and yours too with that.
Right.
So once you give me all of that information, and I must say I do charge an upfront research fee.
Gotcha.
Because we're taking time out, schedules, doing a lot of research.
Okay.
So I found different locations. Different options, and I'll put that package together and I will send it to you and say, look at this, look at these, and I send more than one type of package. Yeah. So you can choose, and if you don't want that, then we'll continue until I actually find what it is you're looking for.
Right.
Now, grant you, sometimes it may take a day, sometimes it may take 3 days. Right. It just depends on what you're comfortable with as far as where you want to go to.
Okay.
And if a lot of times I try to do trips that the tours are included with the air in the hotel. Mm-hmm. And if not, I do have a site that I pull up the tours for that location and I share that with the client as well.
Right.
So they can look at the different things out there because again, it may be some things I may like, but you may not like to do. So I like to keep that flexibility going on. I also I will provide you with information about that country. Okay. And I will direct you to my page that shows about the threat levels and that kind of stuff, the CDC health website, so you can see what shots, if any, are required for that country. Mm-hmm. And like for now, with the pandemic,
I'm glad. That's why I said it. And I was like, letting her lead. You got this.
So like
Chilling.
with the pandemic, I would provide you with the protocol for that particular country.
Right.
That you would definitely have to follow. And in some cases, you may have to fill out a form before you even get there with your health information.
Right.
So I provide all that to you.
Okay.
I also encourage you to get travel protection.
Okay.
And COVID is a prime example.
Yeah.
Let's say if you had booked a trip and you didn't have travel protection.
You get COVID, you hit.
You very well could have lost your money after you paid for that trip.
Right.
You know, and that's one of the benefits of having a travel advisor planner, because we know different ways we can go through to help you either get your money back or you get credit.
Right.
So, but travel protection takes care of that for you. So we do I strongly encourage travelers to take travel protection.
Okay.
So.
All right. It's informative. I'm sitting, like I said, this is sponge Brian. Like I'm just okay. All right, I got you. I'm picking up the breadcrumbs.
Okay.
Let's see. So we did day to day. We did the social. As a travel planner, and this would be like a sporadic question, but it ties into what I shared pre-pod. How does planning go for you? Not just planning for traveling, but also business planning as a whole. Like, how does your planning routine go with doing stuff? Like, and here's where I'm asking it, or here's where I'm going with you planning, because there are different types of planners. One, there are planners who are freestyle planners who are just like, hey, I'm gonna just plan as I go. Or, you have the digital planner, you have as she comes in with the book and plans of ideas, like notes all organized. Like, how does your planning go with your business or organization with your business as well as just with life?
Okay. I consider myself to be a structural planner.
Okay.
I like to plan things. For example, if I'm traveling, I want to know everything I'm going to do day by day.
Right.
I don't want to wait, and in some cases I do go on the fly.
Okay.
But overall, I want some structure with where I'm going. So on my day to day, if I'm planning, I would sit there and think about, for example, when you mentioned about going back to Italy.
Right.
I would actually sit there and marinate on that thought for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I said, oh, well, if he goes to this part of Italy, he might like to do this. I said, okay, so I write that down,
right.
Because I'm thinking outside the box right now.
Okay.
And so I like things to be in order.
Gotcha.
I don't like things scattered, because I think sometimes you end up spinning circles. So I like to stay focused and structured with doing planning.
Okay, I like that. I'm for it. I veered off from that question, so I'm gonna come back to it, and then we're gonna go into some randoms and some fun combo. And if you don't want to share them, you don't have to.
Okay.
If you've had any good experiences with clients or bad experiences, how do you handle those? Because I know I put it in the factor of, what your experiences talking about it, but how do you handle those experiences? Like, if a good experience comes up, it's like, okay, I built a bridge with this person, they're going to come back. And that bad experience, like, do you shake it off? Does it affect you for a couple of days? Like, how do you handle it?
Okay. As far as good experience, communication is the key.
Okay.
So as long as I have open communication with my clients, there's no problem. I let them speak freely.
Right.
Tell me if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm not meeting what it is you're looking for.
Okay.
So that line of communication being open is the best experience I have.
Right.
Now, as far as bad experience, if I have any bad experience from clients, I learn from it.
Right.
I take that and I learn for it and think about, well, what could I have done different? Or why did it end up being a bad experience?
Right.
But I don't look at it as being upset I mean, I'm too old for that. I shake it off. And
Right.
like I say, I learn from it.
Yeah.
What I can do different. So
Okay.
every experience is different.
Okay. I like that. That's a simple way to address it. Because, I mean, whether we realize it or not, everything's a teachable moment. Like we talked about this, we talked about this off mic before the show. Podcasting, like everyone sees this and they're like, how are you able to do this so long and be consistent? Same with you doing, planning for 20 years or, travel planning for 20 years. It's not as like it looks easy on the outside,
yes,
but it's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, and it's a lot of things that make it kind of like that battle of like, do I really want to put this time into it? But I know I need to because ain't nobody else. It's me. It's my setup. Like I share this all the time with from my perspective. Like I'm a freestyle a little bit with traveling. You are your boss and you are your person who does and manages and checks everything.
Yes.
And you have some people who have like a full team of people who are like, everyone has their part in helping this client get this travel in tune. From a podcast perspective, I tell people all the time, y'all got to remember, I'm a one-man show. This is it.
Right.
And everybody's like, how do you get it? I was like, I got to get up. I got to turn on the computer. I got to turn on the mic. So veering all of that in, explain how challenging and, if you want to, how beneficial it is of being an entrepreneur.
It was very challenging at the beginning.
Okay.
Because I was, like I said, I had been planning travel for family and friends for 20 plus years.
Right.
But I did it as a hobby. It was just something that excited me about doing it. And once I had retired from the Department of Defense, I still was doing that. And I planned a trip for a church member.
Okay.
And we went overseas. I went with her and her friend.
Yeah.
We went overseas. So she would tell you, if I saw the price and it was good at 5 a.m., I'm calling you at 5 a.m. But we had that upfront understanding.
Yeah, the rapport.
Yes. So once we did that trip and I had all the tours and everything included, she stopped me one morning in church before church started, and she said, Bernadette, you need to do this officially. She said, you should be getting paid to do this because you put a lot of work in it.
Right.
And I honestly told her, I said, well, I never thought about doing that because I did it as a hobby.
Right.
So with her saying that, I thought about it. So I decided move forward.
Right.
And I went on and got my LLC for Diva Travel Planner.
Right.
So I was still booking trips. In some cases, I was not getting paid, especially like with the cruise line, because I wasn't in a partnership.
Right.
So later during the year, I learned about Cruises Inc., which is one of the world's largest retailer in the United States. And I joined them in October 2018.
Right.
Once I joined that company, and they're my host agency, they opened my world up.
Right.
I am partners with all the cruise lines,
Okay.
get paid commission. They opened me up to a lot of land suppliers, get paid commission.
Yeah.
They provide all the training I needed and continues to provide the training, certification, credentials, everything from top to bottom. They have been wonderful for me. And had I not reached out, did the research and found out about it, I think my travel agency would still be more challenging.
Right.
But because I did find out about them and join them, they sort of like structured me even more.
Gotcha.
It helped me to grow even more and to understand the business more and just put so much out there for me. And even with this COVID pandemic, we did constant training, always in the know with the suppliers, webinars every week, every day. And we as travel advisors did a travel safety verification as well.
Okay.
So we learned about what customers are to expect now during this pandemic and going forward.
Oh, no. Okay.
So we've been trained to do all of that and stay up to date with everything that's happening, even with the CDC.
Yep.
So that challenge has really been, it was challenging at first, but now it's very, to me, it's going a little bit more smooth.
More streamlined. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Yes.
All right. Because, I mean, and that's something you brought up. I mean, a lot of things you brought up important. I'm not going to deny that. But one part that's key is like the training and the testing. And then, you know, of course, it's interesting because over a year ago, we never would use the word pandemic or COVID. Now, any conversation we have with anyone, unknowingly, we're like, yeah, things, da-da-da-da-da, but COVID, and, you know, continuing. And I bring that up because as you're doing planning and doing travel planning, you have to put in, well, let's also remember we have the pandemic. So how are we going to plan your trip?
Yes.
In dealing with the pandemic and making sure they're safe, you know, and proper attire such as masks. Like, I'm in the medical field, and one of the things where I'm at now, I'm not as directly involved with it, but previously, as I would call it, I was in ground zero. And you're basically, you know, I have to tell people, I'm like, I'm literally like the mask thing was, the concerns with masks was there, but now it's like, you need to wear a mask and you need to wear these things to properly, you know, avoid catching this virus. So in dealing with that on that scale, just bringing it to a simple trip of just saying, okay, I'm getting on a flight, having to deal with social distancing and I'm freestyling. So if I'm sounding off, my bad. I promise I'm gonna reel it back in. Traveling, you know, trying to sit in an actual airport, making sure, you know, how you get on the flight, things of that nature. Like, it's stuff that if you're consistently traveling, you understand it. But somebody like me, I'll be in there like, oh, I really can't sit there.
But, you know, it's interesting you said unless you consistent traveling because, like I said, I've done international traveling.
Right.
And I'm used to seeing people with masks on. Mm-hmm. So when this pandemic came, it didn't faze me. I got all kinds of masks.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I even
made it for the business. Yeah.
You know it.
Right.
But I understand the concern with people that's not used to it.
Right.
You know, but if you want to travel and it's that important to you, do it.
Right.
It's your safety. You know, so the mask is on, you know, you just have the mask on while you're out in public. Mm-hmm. But once you get to where you're going and, you know, you're in your own, I guess I would say your own room, right, or restaurant, you know, you can take off the mask. But it's no need to be upset about it. Right. Because it is what it is. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Like I said, I was practically in the hospital. I'm not gonna say where because we'll put it this way, and I'm not gonna say names without saying names because if people want to do research, they're welcome to. I use the term in my hashtags, and it always said at the V. That's my easiest way of saying it. I never said anything, and folks who knew me understood what that meant. They was like, "Okay, I got you." So knowing the experiences and the interactions, I would have conversations with folks, and I'm just like, y'all got it. It's not. We got to do it if we want to try and get through this. So it's a very key piece to just kind of going through the process. I think you've already mentioned about starting into the business, so I can unless there's more to add to it. Before we go further, you good?
I am.
All right. Told you. See, I told you. I got this.
I can talk all day.
It ain't like I said. It's just that. It's that first. All right. So and this is the random podcast lingo that I do. It's the hardest step is the first step. Once you are out there and once you start talking, like how I explain this to people, and I couldn't send in messaging, but this is something just general know-how. If I took all of this stuff away and we had a conversation, mm-hmm. this is pretty much what we're doing. You just add the microphone in and it's like, okay, it's just on, as from the old school perspective, it's on wax.
Right.
Just straight up. once you, and she's probably like, this is my way. I
know what that is.
No, so this is my way of staying, because I'm fidgety.
Okay.
So this is my way of handling being fidgety, and it's not noisy, because by nature, warning, y'all gonna hear a sound effect. By nature, a lot of people, when they, doing things, beating. So I've learned to find little things to like, okay, this is my little relaxation point. You can't hear it on the microphone. It's very natural. It's something simple, but it's the retro koosh ball, as y'all know. Anyone that's been on my show sees that I always have it. I used to use it if I had a group of people. You know how, remember being in school and they would say, okay, one person can talk. Yes. Whoever had the koosh ball, you would talk. But this is always just like, if I have multiple folks on the show, like if it's 2 people, like I said, I throw the ball out there, I get to sit back. And that's usually that's the light version of podcasting.
Okay.
The unknown part of it is, okay, I'm gonna get hit with a question, but then it's like, okay, how is he gonna ask this? Because I'm gonna ask the question based on how I have it broken down, but I'm also gonna give it as, hey, let me give a little bit of a spin to it to make you give that extra think, because it's, everything's about critical thinking, whether we know it or not. Even down to us doing our natural habits such as driving, working, planning.
Yes.
It's very key. So when you're not planning, what is, because I'm a music snob, so I listen to a good amount of music. And you don't have to name artists, but what's some genres or what's some good music you like to listen to kind of like mellow through it, even if you're using it while you're working on your stuff?
I love jazz music.
Okay.
So I don't have a specific jazz musician that I hone into.
Okay.
I just love it from Kenny G to all over.
Gotcha. John Coltrane.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love old school music.
Gotcha.
Old school, we on point.
Yeah.
Old school has meaning to it, so I just love that type of music. But otherwise, when I'm not planning, and I can't say how often that is, because I'm always planning.
Right.
I play games.
Okay.
I play games to just keep me calm, or I look at old TV shows. So that's how it goes for me.
Okay.
And I work out every day because I got to start off working out, de-stress before I get stressed.
Smart. That's me. That's something I'm learning now to do more. Is I'm allotting that an hour of my morning to myself. And that's for me usually just like meditating, relaxing, praying, reading, putting something in my head, in my mind that's worthwhile. Like every once in a while, because I journal. I would after we pod, I'm gonna probably sit down because I'm a writer by nature, so I love writing and just sitting down and just kind of having that time. So you mentioned that as far as like working out, I'm looking to do the working out again because I have an appointment coming up soon for health that I'm ready for, but a little nervous about because I'm just like, I haven't gone to the doctor in a while, so it's but
you didn't do what you're supposed to be doing.
It's funny you mention that. 2021, my statement has been my motto or theme for 2021 has been the year of BT, which is me learning how to take care of myself.
Good.
And adding to that, a message I spread to everyone, and I remind people all the time, and I'm even reminding me, is health over wealth, because. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with getting, we all about trying to get the dollar. We want to earn while we can.
Right.
But it's no benefit earning it if you can't live to do anything with it.
Exactly.
So I'm learning. So it's been more like last year I was already in the assessment phase with things, but now it's when things come up, it's like, I got to really think this out. So now in a couple weeks, and then for the next few weeks, it's just I'm really working on like better self-care. So I am gonna like get back to it because I've got a friend of mine. She's now like, when are we gonna plan to go to the gym? And I'm like, let's do it. I'm ready. Like I need to because like even down to something is small for me, like working out for you. For me, it was basketball.
Okay.
I stayed on like. A lot of my friends will tell you I stayed in a gym or outside playing basketball, and I would have like, not this, I have a jug of water, and it was just like I could be out here for hours, and because it was just an outlet for me.
Right.
It was a stress reliever, and then you add in the gaming factor. made a small self investment of like someone had a system that they were wanting to sell. So I was like, I'll buy it. I don't mind. Came in the mail yesterday. Oh man, this is what I needed. I needed to didn't realize how much of a small stress reliever. So it's doing those things to like find that leveling. And speaking on grounding, what are some books? And because I always like to have people share this. What are some books that you would recommend, or books that you've read that either grounded you or helped you, just overall?
One book I read is called Maximize Your Edge, and it's by Dr. Lance Watson, pastor of St. Paul's Baptist Church, Richmond, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And in that book, you focus on faith. And I've always kept my faith in God, right? Because I believe it was God that directed me to even start my business. Yeah. I meditate on it every day. I ask Him to guide me with where to go on that day and forward.
Right.
So in that book, Maximize Your Age, it talks about how faith produces success in life and stretching your imagination.
Right.
And that faith, and I'm quoting this part, faith always begins with a picture, a mental image, a dream, a vision, or an idea. And that was one of the quotes that came out the Maximize Your Edge that I really love.
Okay.
So, and God says, here's something you can visualize. And I'm a visual person.
Right. Same.
So that book is what really helped me to look at my dream and to bring it to fruition and to stay grounded.
Gotcha. Okay. Good book out. And anytime any guest that comes on this show that shares a book, it goes on my wish list.
Oh, great.
Now when I'm gonna buy it,
That's okay.
I gotta hope, because I got a stack of books and I'm still we still talking to each other like because the book I'm reading, or I've been carrying to read, is the four disciplines of execution.
Okay.
Because the challenge for humans is planning, organizing, putting all these ideas out, but then executing. Like we do all the who's, the what's, the where's, the when's,
right?
But we don't get to the why, the how. How are we going to get this done?
Right.
What are we working on? So
yes.
I'm learning that, and to say without saying it, I'm not going to really go into, so the surveying competitors, that's not a thing. Unless you want to talk about it, not something you would.
I don't survey my competitors. Yeah. If anything, we exchange ideas.
Okay, that's a better way to say it.
I truly believe in supporting each other.
Right.
So, and that's one of the benefits of being on Facebook, the different groups that your competitors have, and people, they go in there and ask questions because they may come to a point in their planning for a customer that they never experienced, and they, we're just there to support each other. So I don't survey. They may survey me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny you mention that, because like I said, we'll talk off mic, because it's like I said, the person I brought it up earlier, I know she's doing travel planning too, and I just it's things that I can vision and see. I'm just like, I feel like y'all would like, especially her, because she's a travel addict.
Okay.
In a good way. Like she loves traveling, but she also loves planning. So it's like, when it comes to that space, she got it.
I can relate.
Yeah. So right. That's why when I thought about it, I was like, they may know each other. I don't know. Like I said, we'll bring it up off air.
Okay.
Anyone. So we'll do it separate. If someone is looking to start a traveling business, what is a piece of advice you would give them starting out their traveling business?
My advice would be to research.
Okay.
And I mean dig. Don't stop. You find one thing, you find something that you found by researching, research even digger into that piece. Okay. And you'd be amazed of how much information is out there.
Okay. And the follow up. No, like I'm sitting there because normally I'm like, all right, I got to follow. I'm like, let me hold on. No, because I mean, research is universal. That's the key, even outside of just traveling, being a travel agent. For anyone starting a business, what's a piece of advice you would give?
To make sure your heart is in it and that you're passionate about it.
Okay.
If you're not, then
You're wasting your time.
you're wasting your time, and it's not going to give you what you were looking for.
True.
So you have to be passionate about what it is you want to do.
Okay. We ain't got the 45 minutes, and now we get into the fun part. Don't even seem like it. See how quick that was?
Okay.
Like I've gotten all my questions out the way. So, and I always love this. So I'll tell y'all, because y'all know, anyone that's been listening to my show for all these years will tell you I'm always unorthodox. So my guest saw the list of all of the information, and we got to the because she, like I said, she came in organized. I ain't mad, because for me,
can't help it.
No, but from a transparent setting, I'm not in a position to judge with that, because if you like everything that I sent you, so I put it in two places. I use Apple Notes, and I also use a program, and I'm not sponsored by this program, but I use a program called Workflowy. Mm-hmm. Workflowy basically says, write this out and put it in an outline form. Cool. Done. So I literally took every question, everything that we wrote. I wrote all of them out, and I was like, because I always know I can go back to that as a cross-reference. Plus, even down to, and your daughter probably mentioned it to you, I sent it to her, and I sent it to like another friend. I was like, I think I'm ready. Because I want to make sure I do this right.
So I threw you off.
In a good way, though. Because I've done usually, like I say, from the communication standpoint. So, and we'll get to the last part, because the last part is my personal fave, and I'll explain why when we get to it. We talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it during the show or before the show. Communication became, like, I took a communication class. I took 2 of them in school. Shout out to ECPI. Y'all got all my money, but it's all good. Love y'all. And because I'm back in school now doing something different. I'm doing software like development. So I did, when I was going for my earlier degrees, I took a communication course. Mm-hmm. The first one I took, I didn't understand much of what I was doing, but I kind of had an idea. Like, this was like, okay, speak on this thing and go up here and present, make your speech. So one class, I think we were doing like a company. My company that I chose was Sony. I was a Sony fan, so I came in with all my little Sony accessories, and I had them all across. And I know everybody was like, I was like, because I know, at that time, I knew Sony like it was the back of my hand. Like, Sony then, to say now, would be like Apple for me now. Like, I have a lot of Apple stuff, but I don't forget, tech. I don't take for granted one side over the other. Like, I tell people all the time, I love my Apple products, but I don't have certain Apple things. So I bring that up because then, like, when I took my next course of communication, my breakdown, like sending you the outline, it would have been way less simpler of just like business, branding. And then you'd been like, wait, how am I supposed to? But because I did it in a speech class, it would be, once I saw what my key word was, the key word would help open the conversation.
Right.
But of course, when you're giving it to someone else and they have to come up with information for it, it's a little different. I say all of that to say we're now at the favorite at my part of the pod that I personally created over 2 years ago, called Pass the Message. When I first did the show, so the show, and I'll give you this backstory because you may or may not know this. My podcast was initially called Brate Podcast. It's too wordy. I didn't like it. Or a lot of people said, cut it down, make it simple. So I was like, okay. So I did Pass Podcast, which was Pass, which stood for Podcast About Sports and Stuff. Anytime people hear that, they automatically think, oh, he's going to talk about sports. And I'm like, no, I know other things. Like, my brain's a little expanded. Right. So when I was in the midst of the rebrand, even with doing Pass Podcast, it then cut down to the Pass. The Pass still stood for Podcast About Sports and Stuff. And then I put my name at the end of it. I don't do Ask of the Week anymore. Well, when I have guests, I don't do Ask of the Week. because I always like to do those just for a separate show. And I had another friend of mine who was doing podcasting. She came on as a guest. They were talking about their hair salon. But they gave me the life of the hair salon because I'm a guy. I would never go to barbershop for it. So hair salon, I was like, this is different, but I learned a lot on that show. Mm-hmm. It was the first time I started what I do now, which is called Pass the Message. So every episode, we talked about all these, we talked about business, we talked about Brian and his struggles with foods in other countries, everything. But we also bring it back to what is that one thing that the guests can walk away from the show with. Not just about you, not just about your business. It can be about anything. So that's what Pass the Message is. And I'm giving that story because when I put it on the outline, I just put Pass the Message and I ain't tell her nothing.
I'm like, what is that?
So I wanted to, and that's probably one of the first times I've actually given like the full backstory, which I don't mind. Because anyone that knows me knows I'm literally, because of me doing web design, and that was the term that they taught us, what you see is what you get. So I say all of that to say, if there is anything that you would like to share about you, about your business, you can say, hey, I was a horrible leader of the show. You say whatever. I'm joking. But any information that you would like to provide to the listeners, this is your time.
Okay. For one thing, please feel free to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Diva Travel Planner. I am available Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can call me at 804-592-9155. Now, for those of you out there that are interested in becoming an entrepreneur, my message to you is go for it. Don't give up. Be persistent. Because when you start off, it's going to be challenging. But that's what it should be. It should be challenging. Yeah. And from being challenged, you will learn. And from learning, you will grow. So keep going at it until you get where it is you want to go.
Simple to the point. I like that.
Okay.
All right. I ain't mad. She gave me grief when I put brief in the intro.
Yeah, because, I could have went
you handled it.
I could explain to you, give you examples of the cost of land trips, on various destinations.
Right.
How cruise lines work. Some cruise lines include airlines.
Right.
In their fees.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different things as a travel planner that I've learned, like I said, through Cruises Inc.
Right.
Because of giving that opportunity and tools to use that has really helped me with my business.
Okay.
So it's never too late to learn from others.
At all. It's never too
Not
late.
at all.
No. I think that's the part that's ignored the most with anything we do, especially planning and organizing.
Yes.
Message that I'm going to pass along.
But wait a minute. I do have one thing to say. You talked about communication and when you were in school and you had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give a shout out to Virginia Union University.
Shout it. Talk it.
I went there and trust me, they grounded you and taught communication very well.
Really?
Yes. And I really appreciate the way they taught me personally to write and to speak.
Okay.
So that's my shout out to VUU Panther.
I wonder if you 2% question. I got room for another 47 minutes. Did you? Because he was a guest on my show. I wonder if you were there or went there when Wyatt went there. Venable, if you know that name. If you don't, I'll show a picture and it'll be an off mic because he was a guest on the show and he went to Union as well.
Oh, okay.
It's the only reason I asked because I could tell when you say he was like. You put me on the spot. I don't know.
Like, man, I can't even remember yesterday.
I get it. I totally get it. Wow. I'm supposed to follow that. All right, cool. And it's my show. So, all right, one, because I always like presenting this with people when they come on. I like doing these type of shows because it gives me a chance to relax. It gives me a chance to, like I said earlier on the show, I just throw you a question you go.
Right.
Because I know for a fact that they know who I am without knowing. Because a lot of people have followed me, or some people who have been keeping up with the show, they get tidbits and pieces as the story unravels.
Right.
So bringing someone on, like all the information that you just passed at the end, some of that we're going to circle back to, because one, you're coming back on as a guest.
Oh, okay.
Two, we got to talk about traveling, because I need to leave.
Here are my business cards.
Yeah.
You may share with your friends.
Yeah. No, absolutely I am. I'm all for it, because I feel like I need to get out of my head with traveling. It's been fear of the unknown. It's been levels of everything that I've made more. I've made things more than what they should be, and it's not that deep. Offline, but just not even say offline, but just a general convo. I've had, like I've talked about it during the show, I've had a change in roles, and getting the role in what I'm doing now opened my brain. Mm-hmm. And I would have never thought it, but I was just like, this is the critical thinking I've been needing, because I needed to do more and be more, because your daughter, she did it unknowingly, or I was surprised when she did it. She revised a sign for me that has been inspiration for me. I always bring this up on the show ever since I became a fan of it. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. The Mamba mentality of being the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. I say that because she was able to make like a similar sign. I don't know if she showed it to you or not. You may not remember it, but she does, because she's a creative. No, go ahead.
Yes, she's very creative, and a lot of things that she creates, she do share with me. And some of them might be like, I want that. She say, well, that's for such and such. I'm like, okay. I feel like a stepmother then.
But I will say, in listening to your story, you're definitely a creative. Because you have to think outside the box for others in what you're doing. One, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking time to give a lot of information. Also opening my mind with getting out of Richmond or probably Virginia. Maybe the U.S. I don't know, because I need to go again.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah.
And yes, we're going to get you outside of Virginia.
No, because I know, like I said, I've traveled. It's been mind over matter. And it's funny because one of my bracelets says no excuses. And I've had every excuse under the sun.
And you said you need relaxation. What way to relax? Go travel.
Yeah.
I'll help you.
Yeah. So and the thing that's interesting in the role that I'm doing, I'm learning how to do things different by getting, as we all learn here, it's get your time, make sure you had a lot of space. And now I'm learning to allot that space of going back to what we said earlier about health over wealth.
Yes.
So one, thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate you coming on, because it's a breath of fresh air to just talk with someone and it be a relaxing pod. I've done silly podcasts. I've done podcasts of all kinds, but I also like having authentic conversations. Even when because I shared with you one of the podcasts I did with my friend Ramona, and how that was a show that it blew up quicker than, it caught his attention. I can project and I can see this show doing the same. I feel like it's going to get out there. Folks are going to, because it's information being shared.
Yes.
Even in the midst of me talking all this time, I pass the message. But the message I pass, one, like I said, thank you for coming on. Two, continue what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You may or may not realize that it impacts people. And that's me saying that to you, but also saying that to anybody listening to the show. Three, I always come back to effective communication of just listening, not just talking, but also listening. And that's why I love having guests on, because it gives me that chance to just kind of, all right, I'm in class. If I had thought of it, I'd have had an ink pen and paper and started noting. But that's the joy of my audio, because I can go back and just mess around and listen. I could show you after the show. I literally have every single episode I've ever recorded for my podcast.
Oh, wow.
I still am upset, but I've let it go. My first, and I think I knew your daughter at that time. I had one of my first shows I did, and I always love telling this story. When I first started doing podcasting, I did, I had my setup. I had not this microphone, but I had a microphone. Plugged it in, used this program, and recorded. The whole time I thought I was recording on the microphone. I was recording from the computer. So the audio sounded so different. And after that point, like you mentioned earlier, it was about teachable moments. So that goes into my final passing message that I'll share, which is always be open to learn. Always be receptive to being a student of your own craft. Because everyone, like we've mentioned this numerous times, they see you're a travel planner, you're an event planner, you do different activities and events. But the behind the scenes, there's no one walking around recording you seeing what this day-to-day lifestyle is like.
Right.
Podcasting, no different. Like I tell people, folks be like, oh yeah, you're going to have a guest to be fun. And I'm just like, no pressure. Okay, sure. Terrified to death. But it's me also, it's not even just fear of the unknown. It's just knowing that I've got to come in and give that best effort to what I'm doing. Because I want to make sure that I give a good impression. Because I don't want somebody to listen to the show and they're like, nah, that won't it. So that's why I I even asked you during the show because we talked about it before, and you was like, I don't know, we might have to take some breaks. I was like, I'm gonna let you know this probably gonna be one cut. If we do, it's cool. And I've had shows where I've had to do like the breaks, but I understood why, because circumstances. But be open to learning, be receptive, and don't give yourself less than what you deserve. And that's what I'm sharing with you all, but I'm also sharing it with me. And again, like I said, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I really value this conversation. Like, I don't know how many times I'm gonna say it, but it's just, because it's just like, it's a relaxing space to just know, like, you can talk with someone. It's just like I say, first time I've ever met you in person, it's just like, all right, you're good at what you do. I can tell that, especially not just on, the business, but just in giving inspiration and helping. So it's appreciated. Since I already had it listed, and I didn't share it with you, but you already had shared it. But if you want to share again your social medias, and I'll make sure I put those in the notes, and I'll explain notes after the show.
Okay. Yes, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Diva Travel Planner. And my phone number is 804-592-9155. Or feel free to email me at divatravelplanner@gmail.com. Yes, Diva Travel Planner is the key word.
Yeah. All in
it.
And to tell you, to add to that, because I did it right before you had saw me before we came in to do the show. I literally was just like, I pulled up a browser because it's me being me, and I searched for Diva the Planner, a Diva Travel Planner, and it was the first thing that came up.
That's right.
So that's branding. That's being on brand.
I'm the number one lady.
That's right. If you ain't doing it right, if you ain't going to the right planner, you need to go to Diva Travel Planner. So
that's right.
Again, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely, I'll get this all worked up, and we'll make this a nice flow of a show. And with that being said, this is episode 323. Early projection. I have another guest coming on next week. It's going to be a different show. He's been on the show before, but we'll be kind of doing a follow-up. So, again, thank you. Hope y'all do have an amazing weekend and go into next week and be productive and stay on plan.
Thank you, Brian.
No problem. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
You have made it to the end of yet another episode of the Past BT Pod. I hope you gained something or walked away with some worthwhile information, whether it was related to any of the information provided about sports, about music, about technology, or possibly my personal fave, the Pass the Message. We want you to come in with an open mind and an open heart and walk away with something that's going to benefit you and carry you through your day, through your week, through your month, through your life. And that's the main objective here on the Pass. So I hope you were able to receive that. If you are looking to get find a good place to host your podcast, you can check out buzzsprout.com. And if you're also looking to invest in a microphone, a lot of people have their angst or their differences towards it. But I'm currently using the Blue Yeti X, and I've been using it for a little over a year. And it's still to this day one of my best investments I've made. And if I always give this as my closing tip. if you are a creative and you have the space to create, do not do your least to give your best effort towards what you're good at doing. Until next time, y'all take it easy.